Is science a threat to religion? So a lot of people think religion is not based on any sort of facts at all, and I think there's a good reason why they have that idea. Because most people don't know about Islam; they know only about Christianity. So I'm not against Christianity. In fact, in Islam, you have to believe in Christianity, but at the same time, we believe that it's a very old religion, and God let it go out of date, as it were, and let people put in all sorts of weird ideas, like the universe is literally made in 6 days, right? So, just to a bit of introduction to that, where did that even come from? So, in the original Hebrew, they use a word called yom, which has been translated as day, but really means period. So, if you go to the Quran, it also says 6 days, but it means periods, right? And just to give you an idea how scientific the Quran is, it says the universe is created in 6 periods, and the earth was created in 2 of those periods. Now, if you do the maths, if you do the age of the universe divide by 3, because 2 out of 6, you get the exact age of the earth. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that's just the beginning. Right? It also talks about the Big Bang. It says the whole universe, and I can give you quotes, references when you watch the video. I mean, when you get to the YouTube video and get to the description, I always put lots of information. Okay, it talks about the universe was a closed up mass, and then everything was created from that. And nobody even dreamt of that idea. In fact, Einstein resisted that idea when he first came across it. He thought that is not possible. Right?
Yeah.
So basically, Islam is incredibly scientific. That's just a drop in the ocean of what Islam teaches. So I don't see Islam or religion, true religion, okay, being at odds with science at all. In fact, without me going on it too much, it was actually it was Islam that brought science to Europe. The whole idea, have you heard about the Enlightenment?
Yes.
Right? So that came about from Islam bringing the number system, maths, and all the science to Europe. Before that, according to a supposed Western history, they go, there was a dark age. It wasn't a dark age, it's just that science hadn't reached Europe, but it was the bright ages all around Europe, yeah, for hundreds of years, okay, where science and maths are spreading. Anyway, that's my little bit of intro. Do you want to say something, or do you want to say? You have a go.
First, I say the Muslim community has given so much science to this world. It's staggering and brilliant, and all of us should be impressed with the contribution to our culture and civilization that has transpired with that amazing element. But there's that beautiful park where you have all the science, astronomical equipment in the East, what was made by the Muslims like hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and they worked out the world was round and other amazing achievements. So it's undeniable. But I do think recently, though, it's not so forward and frontward in the Muslim world that science is such a great great visionary of all community should be sharing in this experience, one-to-one experience with reality through science.
Are you saying that religion is not at the forefront of science at the moment?
I'm saying it's not as it used to be from the Muslim point of view.
I agree, by the way. So I agree. I think, unfortunately, Muslims are not following Islam, far from Islam, for a long time, and that's why they're so weak. And it's actually part of a prophecy by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that would happen, and then it's going to be reversed at some point, but that's another discussion. But I agree with you, basically. Sorry, what was your name again?
Charles. My name's Charles.
So Charles, any thoughts about that? Have you ever heard of that, what I was saying earlier on?
Yeah, algebra, mathematics. I'm an engineer, so I've delved into the historical sciences. But I'd say all cultures have had an enlightenment period. The Egyptians, the Greeks. There's been lots of it. The Chinese. So all cultures have had their time.
Sure.
And at the moment, Western science. So
Okay, so do you have the feeling that maybe religion is not scientific? Are you religious? What's your background?
I am not religious, non-religious. I'm an atheist. There's been lots of science in the atheist community. If, like you said about Islam and how Prophet Muhammad knew things, I want to know the source of that.
Oh, the great thing about that is that it's all in the Quran, and the great thing about the Quran is the only book that you can date back to the time of Prophet Muhammad. There's even a copy of the Quran up in Birmingham from the time of Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah, that's all great, but still, what is the source of the Quran?
Well,
let's keep it on science and religion.
sure, yeah, so, I mean, very briefly, it's just, we say it's a revelation, right, from God, right, okay, and it kind of makes sense it's a revelation from God because he knows stuff that can't be known by that person, Prophet Muhammad, because he didn't even read or write at the time, but anyway, but the other kind of element of why of what I want to bring up here is science a threat to religion. It's completely the opposite. It's science that supports religion. Let me just quickly explain. So one of the major misunderstandings about religion is that it's based on this idea of faith. Okay, I'm going to say it's based on logic. So does God exist? That's a fundamental question, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Essential question there.
Yeah, and I would say if at a very simple level, somehow we've got this bit mixed up. I don't know how we've got this thing mixed up. Okay, if we saw a bunch of robots walking around, super high-tech robot, we would think, where was that made? Where was that designed?
Yeah.
Okay, we are even our eyes are way beyond anything we can imagine. Even a fly, not all the scientists in the world can make. Right?
Yeah.
So you should automatically think there must be a God. That would be a reasonable thing. But somehow,
No, it's not.
good, go for it. So, given that
It's not
idea,
reasonable to me. So a fly or a tree is nature. So could it have come from nature? Natural?
sure. Okay, so I could have said the same thing about a robot. It just came from nature. It just came. It doesn't make sense to
A
me.
robot isn't natural. It's man-made. A tree is not man-made. So
Sure.
the source of the robot is man.
Right. So basically, you have to trace it back to some sort of level of intelligence, right? So you're saying, the robot, even if you didn't see it being made, you know somewhere there must have been a factory, and you know that factory itself was based on some sort of intelligence.
No, you wouldn't.
That's kind of
If you didn't know about robots and a robot came, you wouldn't know what that was.
I know. I'm saying we know there's a thing called a robot.
Yeah.
Let's just say, and you just see a robot walking around. You wouldn't have to see the factory to know there was a factory.
So there's examples of robots,
Yeah.
and robots are made in factories
Yeah.
by humans.
Yeah.
So you know already.
Sure. Okay. So go on. Your thoughts.
Well, I just want to just go back a little bit to the opening, just to just say what science is and how Christian science is, because that's where I come from as a location, of course. So Christianity loves science, and it supports science fundamentally, but there's a caveat to that. It's only the science of repression, destruction, weaponry. That's where Oxbridge comes in, and Harvard. Their funding comes from Christian fundamentalists, and inside this matrix of science is all built around genocide, something which I've been campaigning against for many, many years. So I refer to Oxbridge, but I mean the Western universities as a rule, the elites. So their physicists are allowed to look at the stars, yes, and observe and calculate and communicate. But that's on a massive caveat that then in their majority of their time, they build weaponry, gas, murderous chemicals. And that's how Oxbridge is funded fundamentally here in the UK and other Western universities. And this is so physicists have no choice in this relationship they have with science here in the West, by the way, because if they do not conform to the horror that they have to produce, they do not get funded. Therefore, they cannot describe the world and create wonderful technologies that communities can actually grow from. So they're in the business. Science in the West is in the business of destruction and murder, which is capitalism, and which is totally supported and backed up by Christianity, the elite of Christianity, not the Christian people. Again, I'm not trying to say Christians are bad. I'm just saying the leadership. When I say Christianity, I mean the only leadership.
Yeah, so I'll kind of, if you don't mind, I'll summarize in a way, or put it in my own way what you just said. So the leadership of Christianity has been hijacked from a sort of an immoral political and economic system. It's like it's no longer anything to do with Christianity, where Jesus said,
Yes.
"Give away all your wealth."
Thank you.
The only way the chance of a fat man getting into heaven is the same as the probability of a camel getting through an eye of a needle or something like that. Basically, you got to give away your wealth, and that's not modern day Christian leadership, which has nothing to do with Christianity. That's one thing. And the other thing I'd like to say about what you said is, without morality, which is religion, and that's another debate if you can be moral without religion, but religion is very specific about how to behave, and when that's let loose, when you don't care about morality, everything can be corrupted, even science. So even money, capitalism, all the good things that could be really useful for us are corrupted. Any thoughts? Come on, be angry.
Angry, passionate. Well, there's a lot to go on there.
Yeah.
Anything specific?
Yeah.
Morality?
Well, let's keep it in the topic.
Okay.
So morality related to science and religion and
Yeah. So there is moral values within science, ethical, like your man just said there. There is destruction, weapons of evil. Yeah, that's all wrong for me. Definitely. Does it tie in with religion? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I am bringing up all sorts of topics, and it's kind of, but without, I'm eager to respond to that or explain why you cannot have morality really without religion. But just look at the world. We don't even talk to our neighbours and stuff, and for me, that's morality.
You're generalising there, though, no?
I am generalising. I could be more specific. I am trying to keep to the topic though. Okay, I want to talk to the thing that you had a contention with, and genuinely loads of people do, which is that believing in God is a logical and scientific idea. Right? So let me come. So one thing, what you were doing was separating man-made creations from nature.
Yeah.
You're saying nature has a sort of a magical power that doesn't need intelligence. It just evolves.
Yes.
Right? And there's another misunderstanding about that, which is people think, well, in Islam actually, in the second verse of the Quran, talks about God as the evolver. So we don't have a problem with evolution. In fact, evolution does not even disprove God. It just means things created in stages. But what's gone round is this myth that some guy called Darwin invented evolution. It's completely wrong. Even his contemporaries knew about evolution, right? It's not a new idea. In fact, the Quran said it 1500 years ago in the second verse, and Muslims knew about evolution for a very long time. So, but it just means it wasn't random. What I'm saying is, it doesn't make sense to believe things are created randomly. That's counter logic.
Can you just step back just a little bit? There you go. You got yourself in shot. Keep yourself in shot. I need to pick up on that point about that. What you said about Darwin. Yes, evolution has always existed. This is clearly the case that we can agree on. But what Darwin did was to describe it and transform his idea into a provable state, which then anybody on the planet could read and understand. And that wasn't through Christianity. That was just his complete independent of his current state which was Christian state, of course, which is why he's so hated. Because as I was saying earlier about science and Christianity, Christianity is not interested in the understanding of the universe. It's only interested in the destruction and the leadership. Again, the leadership. And so why Darwin, even though he has described the world beautifully and with honesty and with the best of his efforts, and with points that can, no matter where you are in history or on the planet at any time, that evidence can be reproduced and then back up the actual thesis that he has so clearly and beautifully described. So but communicating without a bias or bringing in other elements is where science comes in, really. So it's free of that hierarchical structures around it.
Okay. Do you want any last words on that? I'll let you have the last word.
I would say science and religion are two separate entities. How things are in the world, knowledge, science. Religion's more of a faith-based.
Even though what I just said about science being brought to Europe by Islam and hundreds of years of that, and the amazing things I've just told you about how the Quran talks about the exact age of the universe and all of that. Despite that. Okay, cool. All right, that's great, because I think people make up their own minds, and I think I'm putting a few new things that you might not have heard, isn't it? Right? So, I mean, about the age of the universe in the Quran, just a little bit new to you.
I knew that.
You knew that?
I knew that.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, fine. All right.